Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. When I was in high school, back in 2007, I applied to a number of colleges. This was back when schools still sent out physical acceptance letters by mail, so every day after school I'd rush home, hoping to find one of those big, thick envelopes waiting for me. I wasn't particularly optimistic. My family had always made me feel like I wasn't good enough, especially compared to my older brother. He was their golden child. They talked constantly about how he wanted to become a doctor, as if that alone made him a better person. But anyone who knew him could see he wasn't cut out for that, or much else. He didn't have the grades or the work ethic, and he had a terrible attitude. If things didn't go his way, he'd throw tantrums that left everyone walking on eggshells. He was known around school as a spoiled, whiny mama's boy. Still, in my parents' eyes, he could do no wrong. Meanwhile, my dreams of writing and directing movies were brushed off as childish fantasies. I worked hard on my applications, poured my heart into my essays, and even got a few glowing recommendation letters from teachers who believed in my potential. But as time went on, and no acceptance letters appeared, I started to think I had failed. I was crushed. My dad made it clear that he thought I was an idiot for even trying, and it all came to a head one evening when he threw me out of the house. I'll never forget his words. "If you're too dumb to get into college, then you don't belong here." I packed my things and spent the next year sleeping on a friend's couch, trying to piece my life together. That year was the lowest point of my life. On top of losing my home, I also lost my high school sweetheart. She had gotten into college while I was still struggling to find steady work, and the stress of it all eventually drove us apart. We grew distant, and the relationship ended in a way that left me feeling even more lost and defeated. But I'm stubborn. Over time, I managed to land a stable job doing line painting. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, honest work, and it gave me the chance to change my life. I worked long hours, saved every penny I could, and eventually managed to open my own line painting company. Later, I expanded into asphalt repair. The journey wasn't without its hardships. Years of physical labor have left me with nagging shoulder pain and a chronic lower back issue. But I'm proud of the life I've built. It's been 18 years since that dark chapter, and I've come a long way from the defeated teenager who felt like he didn't belong anywhere. Then, out of nowhere, my mother reached out. She wanted to meet and talk. I hadn't seen her or my dad in years, so I wasn't sure what to expect. She revealed that my brother, the golden child who was supposed to become a doctor, never made it past his freshman year of college and refuses to get a job. He spends all day sleeping. Mom said he's even gotten into trouble with the law. But the real shock came next. My mother pulled out a stack of old envelopes, yellowed with age. They were my college acceptance letters from 2007. I couldn't believe it. As she explained, my brother had intercepted them. With my mother's blessing, he took those letters from the mailbox before I ever saw them. She admitted that they did this because she didn't want me to outshine him. They couldn't bear the thought of me succeeding when their perfect son was struggling. That's why, back then, I never received any of the acceptances I worked so hard for. All those years of doubting, of thinking I had failed, when in reality, they were the ones who failed me. My mother said they were both sorry. She claimed she wanted to make things right, to start over. My dad mumbled an apology too, though it was hard to tell how genuine it was. But after all this time, I'm not sure what starting over even means. Their actions caused me so much pain and completely altered the course of my life, and now I'm not entirely sure what to do. OP's brother sounds like a real piece of work. He didn't even come close to living up to the pedestal OP's parents put him on, and yet they were willing to ruin OP's chances just to preserve his fragile ego. That's honestly unforgivable. On top of that, he still doesn't seem to have his life together. Flunked out of college, never got a job, and even got in trouble with the law. Rebuilding a relationship after something like this isn't easy. It's not just about forgiving. It's about figuring out if they've really changed, if they truly understand the harm they caused. Until OP is sure they do, I'd keep them at arm's length. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Start over before you've even had a chance to process the betrayal? Highly dysfunctional family dynamics were in play here, meaning generational trauma. You do not need to have them in your life when they treat you so terribly. Sounds like start over is a lead into ask our successful son for financial assistance. I can't fathom doing something so hateful and damaging to my own child. Hard pass. Oh my God. They deliberately sabotaged your future to further scapegoat you. You succeeded after years of struggle, and they want to start over? After years of not even speaking to you? Let me guess, they're running out of money because they spent it all on your brother. One of them had a bad medical diagnosis, and they are terrified to be in the care of your brother. They're getting frail, and they're becoming scared of your brother. Screw that. They want something from you, and that's the reason why they contacted you and apologized. Update. After that first meeting, I really wanted to believe that my parents were sincere. I figured if they'd taken the step to apologize, maybe they genuinely wanted to make things right. So I decided to give them a chance. At first, it actually felt okay. My mom started texting me regularly, just to check in and see how I was doing. My dad, who had always been pretty quiet around me, even made a couple of calls. It wasn't much, but it felt like they were trying. But before long, I started noticing little hints in our conversations. My mom would bring up how tough things had been at home, mentioning how my brother still lived there and how it was putting a strain on their finances. My dad made a passing comment about his pension didn't quite cover everything these days. They weren't outright asking for anything, but the undertone was clear. They were struggling. At first, I brushed it off. I figured they just needed someone to talk to and vent a bit. Then my mom asked for a small favor. She said they were short on groceries one month and wondered if I could help out, just this once. I didn't think too much of it at the time. I was happy to help. After that, it was something else. They needed help paying for a minor home repair. I had some reliable contractors I used for my business, so I hired one to fix the problem and took care of the bill. Again, it didn't seem like a big deal. I told myself I was doing what family was supposed to do, helping out when needed. But then the requests kept coming. They said my brother had some unexpected medical expenses and asked if I could lend them a little extra. Then it was overdue utility bills, then something else. Each time they framed it as a one-time emergency, but it was becoming more frequent, more routine. At some point, I realized that nearly every conversation seemed to lead back to money. They weren't just reconnecting with me, they were relying on me. The breaking point came when my mom accidentally let it slip that she'd given some of the money I'd provided to my brother so he could treat himself after a stressful week. I'd been told they needed the money to cover bills, to keep the lights on. Instead, some of it was going to the same brother who had stayed at home for years, refusing to work, flunking out of college, and even getting in trouble with the law. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's when my pink sunglasses fell down. I realized that they hadn't changed at all. Their apology, their desire to start fresh, all of it had just been a way to get me back in their lives so they could rely on me financially. It wasn't about making amends. It was about what I could do for them. I told them I was done. I stopped sending money, stopped answering their calls. I'd opened the door to them again because I wanted to believe people can change. But their true intentions were clear now, and I wasn't going to let them use me anymore. My dad, stepmom, stepbrother, and I were living in the house my mother originally owned. I moved out after my stepbrother took the box that had all of his mother's jewelry out of his mother's closet and concealed it inside my closet. I had no idea about it till my stepmom walked into my room and asked me one more time if I had insisted on not letting my stepbrother share the car my dad gave me. I said no, and she said, "Okay then casually walked to my closet, opened it, pulled out her jewelry box, and started yelling. I freaked out, asking what was going on. Dad came into the room, and she started crying, claiming I stole her entire jewelry box and was planning to sell it. I was stunned. I swore on my deceased mother I didn't steal anything, yet my dad didn't believe me. My stepmom demanded I get out of the house, and I had to leave because of the pressure. My stepbrother admitted putting the box inside my closet and bragged about it. I lived with my uncle for 7 years. I missed my room, backyard, and my mother's memories in that house. My stepbrother took over everything. My dad didn't attempt to connect for years and kept calling me thief until recently when I visited my uncle's, and he happened to be there. He looked thin and exhausted. He said he found out my stepmom set me up and apologized for not believing me then. He said he forgave her and hoped I'd forgive him because he won't forgive himself if I don't. He then talked about having debts and needing money to pay off debts or he'd lose the house, and he asked to borrow money from me. I got quiet. Then I asked why can't they sell the jewelry they accused me of stealing, the car he took back. Heck, where's my stepbrother when they need him? My dad shook his head and asked if my mom would want for me to see him homeless, with no help, or worse, see the house she built and her memories there go to waste. I said I won't pay after they kicked me out of my mother's house because stepmom didn't want me there. You must be wondering where my stepbrother is now. He's dead. He moved to another town, became a police officer for 4 years, conned widowed women out of their money and houses, robbed them blind, and took possession of their legal documents and falsified them to his own benefits. He passed away suddenly at the age of 33, so he didn't enjoy his ill-gotten gains for long. My dad and uncle agreed that by paying, I'm saving my mother's house. But it's no longer her house, after my stepmom turned it into a shrine for her son, who she calls a hero, and used my room as storage for his things. When I walked in for the first time after years, I felt nothing. The connection is no longer there. I still refused to pay, and we had an argument, then I left. My uncle's saying I'm making a mistake by thinking irrationally and in a spiteful manner, and should consider that my dad and stepmom are helpless, sick, grieving, and need help. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your dad knew all along. He's just realized he hitched his wagon to the wrong horse and is crawling back because he's in debt. The kind of man who would forgive someone for framing his son for a crime is not someone you want as a father. The "what would your mother want" is the worst kind of hypocrisy. I'm gonna guess she wouldn't have wanted you to be thrown out by him and his new bit of a skirt. But it didn't seem to bother him then. If you can afford, and want to, I would either buy it from your dad, let them foreclose and buy it then, but I wouldn't give him a single penny otherwise. Buy the house and kick them the hell out of it, if you can, or if you want to, or don't. They burned bridges years ago, and you don't have to rebuild if you don't want to. So your dad found out that you were set up and wronged. And did he attempt to contact you, apologize, reconnect? No, not until he needed you. Yeah, no, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It's rarely a good idea to spend your money helping someone save their house from eviction because the underlying issues, overspending, unemployment, addiction, etc., that caused them to be there so far behind on the payments, aren't solved. Your dad only reached out to ask you for money. He doesn't truly care to get to know you as a person. Let the house go, and consider letting your dad go as well. You can let go of some of the hurt, but let go of any chance of responsibility, as well as step away from all of this and live your own life. You owe them nothing. I, 31 female, and my boyfriend, 33 male, signed our kids up for football and cheer. He has a son, 8 male, and I have 2 daughters, 8 female and 6 female. We rushed into our relationship and moved in together. That's when I found out he only picks his son up a few times a week to hang out and gives his son's mom $200 a week. I, on the other hand, do 50-50 with my girl's dad. So I have my kids throughout the week. My boyfriend also works a minimum wage job. I've expressed that he needs to find a better paying job. He knows how to weld and is a super hard worker, but he doesn't want to because football is coming up, and his current schedule works with when his son will have practice and games. I make double what he makes. This has caused me to cover a lot more than I should, but I also have more bills than he does. So some months are hard for me. For this reason, I decided to fundraise for my daughter's uniforms, and I've made over the cost of what I needed, and I told him I would give his son a cut to help pay for his son's cleats, pads, etc. My issue is that he never brings his son around me. I've begged him to bring his son around because I have 2 girls, and I would love having a boy around. I also just have a lot of love in my heart that I want to get to know him, love him, and support him. I've also mentioned this to my boyfriend that he should bring him over more and actually take care of him since we have a big house and a whole room for him. That way, he didn't have to give his son's mother so much, and he could provide for him at our house. We got into a fight one weekend, and he told me that it's his son, not mine, and he doesn't want to get to know me. He doesn't invite me or bring him over because that's his time with him, and he doesn't want to share. I still have money set to the side for his son's football needs, but everyone tells me that I should use the money to pay the bills since my boyfriend barely gives me enough for his portion. I know that if I don't give him the money for his son, he will probably use money he should be giving me for bills. I've asked him to not give so much money a week to his son's mother, but he refuses. It's not child support, it's just what he wants to give. I just feel like an a-hole not giving money for a child's needs. Any fundraiser money not being used should either be returned or donated to your daughter's team. Giving it to someone else or spending it on groceries is fraudulent. Everyone sucks here. Let me get this straight. You have so much love in your heart that if your boyfriend doesn't have his son over more so he can pay less child support, you aren't going to give him much needed money that other people gave to you for your daughter's uniforms. People gave to your fundraiser because they wanted to help your children. They didn't give it to you to pay your bills or blackmail your boyfriend. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You should give back the excess money to the people you fundraised from, as they did not consent to you using it for other things. You use money to manipulate people. It's not a surprise he doesn't want his son around you. I, 36 female, have an older sister, 38 female. We don't live in the U.S., nor in any Western country. We come from a dual-income household, with both parents being high earners and middle-class standards. We used to be best friends when we were younger, but things started to turn bad when we were both in college. We both attended the same engineering college, just 1 year apart. While I was busting my butt to get top marks, my sister was shopping for a rich husband. She would take all of the money our parents sent her, spend it on clothes and makeup, then beg me to lend her some of my allowance so she can afford necessities. I used to do that at first, but then I cut her off when I got fed up. That was the first crack. The second crack came when she did not pass her classes, so she ended up having to repeat her second year, 2nd out of 5. Then we were in the same class. Because we had the same major, we had the exact same schedule. Then professors started comparing us. I was usually 1st or 2nd in class. She was near the bottom and had a habit of skipping class. The final crack came when she got a rich boyfriend, while I was dating a fellow classmate from a very poor background. She was constantly condescending, telling me how I will end up spending all my money on him and his poor family, and that I should follow her example and get a rich husband. Our last year, she chose to drop out of school and marry her rich husband. They had a very grand wedding, and the bridal gifts he gave her included a BMW and enough gold to buy a small apartment. I married my husband after we graduated and worked for a year. We had a small wedding, 80 people, and my bridal gifts were modest, about what he made in a month. She started ridiculing him in front of his and our family, so my mom ended up kicking her out of the wedding. Fast forward to now. I have a 10-year-old son that goes to a private school. My husband and I own our house. We bought his parents an apartment, and we go on vacation abroad twice a year. All to say we are living well. My sister's husband divorced her because he fell in love with a 20-something young woman, and because all his wealth actually belongs to his parents. She came out with a measly sum of child support, a lot of jewelry, and brand-name clothes in her car. If she had been good with money, it would have been enough to start her own business, but she spent it all away, and now she is asking me for help in the form of lending her money to start a small business. I told her absolutely not. She tried to push. I blocked her everywhere, and she can't get access to my job or to gated community where I live. She's currently living with our parents, along with her 3 kids, and from what my mom is saying, they are also getting fed up with her, but also she is apparently having a really hard time. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She's a grown woman. She chose her life. Don't give her a dime. Not the a-hole. Your sister and you made very different life choices, which led to very different lives. The fact that your life is going well doesn't make you obligated to be her benefactor, especially given her treatment of you over the years. Not the a-hole. Your sister is an adult and should take responsibility for her life. You are not required to take care of her. She made her choices and is now reaping the consequences of those choices. She should go back to school, get a job, find another rich husband, etc. If you give her something now, I guarantee there will be more asks for money. She is a leech, but you don't need to allow her to suck you dry. To paint a picture, my parents divorced when I was very young. They both got new relationships, and I never really got on with one of my step-parents, who used to pick on me. I was a very small child, saying things like I was ugly, I would be pretty if I changed this or that about myself, and the parent didn't really do anything about it. Saying stuff like, that is just the way they are, just accept it, stuff like that. Without going too much into details, that parent plus the step-parent played favorites, a lot, and it resulted in me having a diagnosed inferiority complex, depression, and a plethora of other things that apparently are normal for children whose parents used to play favorites. Now on to the relevant part. When my siblings went to college, they paid for everything. That sibling does not have study debts. In the agreement with my other parent, they were supposed to split what they had saved for college over the both of us, but I never saw a cent of this money. Then I went away for college, and they never spent a single cent on me. The neglect was not only financial, but also emotional. I know I really shouldn't have expected my parents to be all loving all of a sudden, but though I already rung the bell, saying that if they continue to treat me the way they do, the situation is no longer tenable for me. Since my birthday in 2019, that parent has spontaneously contacted me once. And I say spontaneously because the other times were either at what time I would come by on a birthday, or that I owed them money by using my public transport card. I recently found out that in my country, parents are obligated to support their child until they turn 21. The obligation doesn't just stop at 18, and I could, very easily, send a debt collector their way to collect the few thousand they should have supported me with in the first place, cause money accumulates over time. I checked with a legal company, so I know that legally I am in the clear. They clearly have the money to spend on extravagant gifts for their other children, and it isn't like I'm asking for more than what I am legally owed, and way less than they spend on my other sibling. I'm pretty sure, though, if I do it, I would be the ultimate devil in their eyes, and the relationship is over forever, which I'm fine with, but it could put the sibling I have contact with in a difficult situation. So would I be the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You have no relationship with them now, and if you need help one day, you will not be able to turn to them. Take the money and put it in a rainy day fund. Also, there's usually a statute of limitation, so make sure you don't let that expire. Your other siblings saw what they did and should understand. Do what you have to do to finish your education. If that means suing them, then do so. If that means cutting off all ties with them, then do so. They have already established a pattern of behavior that you must know will not change. So what have you got to lose? At least get a good education out of this situation, and then live by the motto, the best revenge is living well. Not the a-hole. They brought it upon themselves. I say go for it since you understand the repercussions and accept them. I, female 21, am a triplet. I love my two sisters, and after 21 years, of course I'm used to people mixing us all the time. It's annoying, but we are used to it. My dad has been dating his wife for 8 years, married for 6 years. I can count with my fingers just how many times she has gotten our names right, even though we've told her the little things to tell us apart. And all these years, we've spent New Year's and vacations with them. It's not like she never sees us, but I swear that she gets the names wrong every time. We all have similar voices and jobs too, but right now, one of my sisters has pink hair, while the other one dyed it blonde. She still gets it wrong each time, and it annoys all of us since it's not coming from a stranger, but someone that has spent lots of time with us. We correct her every time, or don't reply until she gets it right. She doesn't have a good relationship with our mom, so I guess that might affect. But I'm not sure. She hasn't always been nice to us either. A few days ago, she wouldn't stop calling me by my sister's name, and it was annoying me. I corrected her a few times, and she said I was rude. I told her that she obviously didn't care about us, or would have tried harder by now. She tried to punish me, and we got into an argument. I don't know what she said to my dad, but he is on her side and wants me to apologize. I don't want to. My sisters are on my side. Am I the a-hole for screaming at her and not wanting to apologize? Not the a-hole. She tried to punish you at 21 years old? She doesn't want to learn your name. She has known you for a very long time, so it is a choice. Your dad is a jerk too for not expecting his children to be respected. So you mean to tell me that A, you've known this woman for 8 years, B, you've given her hints to help get your names right, C, you all currently have different hair colors, and she still can't get it right? Not only that, she tried to punish you for correcting her? You're 21, not 12. Not the a-hole. Edit. I don't think a child at any age should get punished for this. Just thought it was weird that stepmom was trying to punish a legal adult. Not the a-hole. This woman has had 8 years to learn how to tell you and your sisters apart, but has chosen not to, because it's not important to her. I understand your frustration, but screaming at people is rarely productive. I would apologize for screaming, but not for what you said, and I would continue to correct or ignore her when she calls you by the wrong name. Your father is also in the wrong here.